G'day guys, today we're going to look at the carburetor. We're going to be taking off the carburetor. We're going to be stripping and cleaning the carburetor, blowing out all the jets and just doing a thorough checkup on the carburetor. Okay, first and foremost you need to disconnect your battery. Next you need to just remove your airbox so that you can be clear with your carburetor to work on. And then you remove everything that is attached to the carburetor, like your cables and your pipes and your electrical connections. First connection that you loosen is the switch at the back here, which is your idle cut-off valve at the back. You disconnect that. Next thing you remove is your choke cable. It just comes out after you have loosened these two bolts here. Okay, so the next thing that you will remove is your accelerator cable over here, and then it comes out on this side over there, and there you got it free. Just put all the cables out of the way. Next thing is removing this earth strap here from the carburetor. You want to remove all these attachments before you do any work. Remove the fuel inlet holes, pull it off completely, just let it lie over there. Now you got all the attachments loosened, so what remains next is for you to remove these four bolts here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are the bolts that holds your carburetor against your base plate. Yeah, these bolts should never be made too tight. We'll speak about that later when we assemble it back. And with those nuts removed, your carb comes off. And there you have your base plate, which I'm also going to remove because I'd like to check it for cracks or for leaks. I suspect that it's leaking somewhere, that's why I'd like to take mine off. Now that you have your carb off, there are 6 screws like these right around, which needs to be removed, and then this top comes off. Once those nuts are undone, your carb just comes out like that. That's what it looks like. You can see your gasket over there, and that's your top portion, the float hanging there. Okay, the first thing that you normally would look at is how clean is the float bowl. There we go. You can actually see there, it's quite clean. There's a little bit of dirt there in the corner there, but we will now just clean it out and blast some of the jets with some carburetor cleaner. Okay, so that's a better view of the bowl. You can actually see that there is a bit of dirt in there. Okay, and for that we're going to use the carb cleaner. This is what I use. You're basically going to just squirt a little bit into the carb. You're going to spray some into the carb, and you just let that sit a while. Let it just penetrate and go through whatever it needs to go through. You can also squirt it directly into these holes over here, and you can see if it's clear. And then you can also come to the jets right at the bottom there, squirt in there. There are 2 of them. The one that I got the nozzle in now is the main or your primary jet, and then there's another one sitting on this side, which is your second stage jet. So you can see as I'm squirting, the airway is clear because it's coming out there into the mouth of the carb. Okay, after I let that set a while, I'm pouring it out back into this jar, and I think I will do another rinse because you can see there's still like a fine particles in there. What you can also do is you can remove these jets over here, and you can actually check them if they're clear and blast carburetor cleaner through there. You can do that. Even better for a thorough clean. You can do that with all, but generally you just need to blast it because your carb, okay, if your carb has been very dirty and standing for a long while, you can take out all these jets, but just when you take out the jet, put it back immediately, tighten it immediately, because these things are, they look alike but they have different openings. So just put back stuff immediately as you take them out. Now, one very important jet to take out is your idling jet. The idling jet sits underneath this one here, and I'm going to remove this. Now underneath here is the idling jet. Now once I remove this, you will see, you can't even see in there, but there's another jet in there. Now I'm going to remove it with a very small screwdriver. Now this is your idling jet that very commonly gets blocked. You're going to use a very small screwdriver to get to that idling jet. And please, once you're going to unscrew this idling jet, it's very small. When you take it out, make sure you don't drop it anywhere. Make sure you work on an area where you know you can find it if you drop anything. Okay, so that's how small the idling jet is. Very tiny, and it's got a very tiny hole inside. And basically what you do is you can blow some carb cleaner down here, or you can take a thin strand of copper wire and just run it through there, but you don't use force, just don't make that hole bigger. Okay, something very important I forgot to mention. Once I loosened up the nut here and I got the idle screw out, you won't be able to just get it out like that. You're basically going to have to tip the carburetor over like that into the palm of your hand. What you can do next is you can turn the carb upside down and spray some of the carb cleaner here by the valves. Dirt gets in here, dirt gets through here, and it blocks it holds your valves open, doesn't close properly. So just make sure you can remove all kinds of dirt from there with the carb spray. This is your float. This is like the top of the carburetor. That's your needle and seat sitting there at the bottom. And that also, you can also give a nice squirt of carb cleaner, inside there, because that also can block up with dirt. Okay, now that you've cleaned up everything in the carb, all the jets and things like that, put back your idling jet. Now we can proceed to assemble it again. Right, okay, now we're ready. We've assembled the carb back again, and it now is ready to go back onto the engine. Okay, so I've also had a look at my base plate, which was fine, but I want to show you something here. When I took off my base plate, you will notice that my rubber that is normally inside the base plate is still attached to the carb inlet. Now that is because I've used a silicone sealer, Victor Ryan's. Now usually silicone after a year would have disintegrated here, but this Victor Ryan sealer has kept the seal in place after all this time. That is why I've got a great belief in Victor Ryan sealer. That is the product that I'm speaking about. So this is a very good product, I can tell you guys. Okay, so you've put the base plate back and you've put the carb back on. You've put your 4 bolts in. Now just a tip, when you tighten these things, do it by hand evenly. You can always later on use a spanner or a socket, because if you put too much force and pressure on here, you can break the base plate, or you can pull it upward, so just be careful with this. It doesn't have to be tightened very hard, just with your hand, and then a little bit with a socket or a spanner. Okay, there everything's put back again. All your cables, your hoses, your electrical connections there at the bottom, your vacuum advance pipe, everything's been put back. So I would suggest that if you've put a sealer on the base plate, just give it a while before you start up the engine. Just give it a while just to set a bit, the silicone, maybe an hour or so if you have the time, but not necessarily, but preferably.